Your bank balance is $347. You check it on a Wednesday morning before your first coffee. Not because something went wrong, because you always check. And the number sits there looking small and quiet, and you feel, for just a moment, like the effort is not adding up to anything. You paid every bill. You made every transfer. You did everything right this month. And the reward for doing everything right is $347 and a low, persistent feeling that you are somehow still behind. Here is what that feeling actually is. It is what building wealth feels like from the inside before it becomes visible from the outside. And most people never find out the difference because nobody tells them what the process actually looks like while it is happening. It looks like this. It looks like $347 on a Wednesday morning. And it means something completely different from what you think it means. Sign 1. Your checking account looks low because money left before you could touch it. Before you saw this balance, your 401k contribution processed automatically. Your Roth IRA transfer cleared. Your extra debt payment posted. Your emergency fund received its scheduled deposit. The money did not vanish. It moved into accounts that do not feel like money yet because they are not liquid, not spendable, not visible in the way a checking balance is visible. There is a woman named Dana in your office who always seems to have $2,000 sitting in her checking account. You notice this without meaning to. What you do not see is that Dana has no retirement account, no emergency fund, and no transfers running in the background. Her checking account looks full because nothing is leaving it toward anything. The balance is the whole picture. For you it is just the frame. The first rule. A low checking account after all the right transfers have cleared is not a warning. It is confirmation. Sign 2. You are paying more than the minimum on your debt every single month. The minimum payment on your student loan is $187. You pay $320. Nobody required this. Nobody is monitoring it. You made a quiet decision somewhere in the last year that the interest accumulating on that balance was a worse use of money than keeping the extra in your pocket, and you have honored that decision every single month since without telling anyone and without needing to. This is not a minor habit. This is the exact behavior that separates people who carry debt for a decade from people who carry it for 3 years. The extra payment is invisible to everyone in your life. It is completely legible to the math. And the math is always keeping score even when you are not looking. Sign 3. You have an emergency fund that has never had to save you completely. $4,200 in a high-yield savings account earning 4.6% APY. You built it over 13 months at $300 a month. There were 2 months you had to pause and 1 month you pulled $380 out for a break job and returned it within 5 weeks. It has never been dramatic. That is the entire point. It exists so that the small emergencies stay small, so that the car repair is an inconvenience and not a crisis. So that the unexpected bill does not reach your credit card. Every quiet month where the fund just sat there untouched and growing was not a boring month. It was the system performing exactly as designed. Sign 4. You said no to something you wanted because something else mattered more. A weekend trip. A furniture upgrade. A car that would have been easy to justify. You looked at the number, looked at what that number was already doing somewhere else, and said no. Not from scarcity. From clarity. The distinction is everything. Most people spend first and save whatever survives. You save first and spend whatever remains. That sequence sounds simple. It is not common. It is the single behavioral difference between 2 completely different financial outcomes played out over the same income over the same number of years. You have the sequence right. Most people around you do not. The second rule. Every no rooted in a financial priority rather than an empty account is a decision compounding quietly in your favor. Sign 5. Your net worth is moving in the right direction even when your balance is not. Pull up every account at once. The checking account showing $347. The 401k sitting at $19,200. The Roth IRA at $6,800. The emergency fund at $4,200. The student loan balance that has fallen from $29,000 to $22,400 over the last 2 years. Assets minus liabilities. The number is not large yet. But it grew by over $4,000 this year in a year where your checking account never once felt comfortable. The wealth is real and present and accumulating. It is simply accumulating in places that do not feel like money because they are not yet accessible. That inaccessibility is not a flaw in the system. It is the system protecting you from yourself. Sign 6. Nothing exciting is happening, and that is precisely the point. No windfalls. No dramatic investment decisions. No financial plot twists of any kind. Just the same transfers on the same dates every month, producing the same quiet forward movement that does not make for good conversation at dinner and does not need to. Boring is not the absence of a strategy. Boring is the strategy. The people whose financial lives generate the most excitement are almost always the people whose financial lives are the most unstable. The drama is the problem. The silence is the evidence that the machine is running cleanly without requiring your daily attention or your emotional energy. You are boring. You are building. In the language of personal finance, those two things are identical. The third rule. Financial excitement is a warning. Financial silence is a signal. Sign 7. You stopped measuring in months and started measuring in decades. You ran the projection. You typed your current 401k balance into a compound interest calculator and looked at what it becomes at 7% average annual return over the next 22 years, and something shifted in your chest that was not quite excitement. It was something steadier than that. It was the feeling of knowing where you are going and recognizing that the road there looks exactly like your current life. Ordinary. Consistent. Unremarkable to anyone not paying attention to the right numbers. The person measuring in months is always chasing a feeling. The person measuring in decades is feeding a machine and trusting the math. You are trusting the math. You have been trusting it quietly, consistently, without recognition or applause, for longer than you give yourself credit for. The truth. Your bank balance is $347. Wednesday morning. Same number, different meaning. The 401k contribution cleared. The Roth IRA transfer processed. The extra debt payment posted. The emergency fund deposit landed. Every piece of the system ran exactly as it was supposed to run, without intervention. Without drama. Without failure. The $347 is not what survived a month that went wrong. It is what remained after a month that went completely right. You just did not recognize it as right because right does not feel the way you were told it would feel. It does not feel like abundance. It feels like discipline. It feels like restraint. It feels like $347 on a Wednesday morning in a quiet, persistent, entirely correct sense that something is being built underneath the surface. You are not broke. You are building. And one day the thing being built will be completely visible and entirely undeniable. And you will look back at the Wednesday mornings and understand exactly what they were worth. You already know. You just needed someone to confirm it. If any of these 7 signs described your Wednesday morning, drop a comment below and tell me which sign hit closest to home. You are not alone in this, and you are further along than you think. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel so you do not miss the next video, because the next one might be the exact thing that finally makes everything you are doing feel worth it.